It was one of those long Toronto evenings when the city feels louder inside your head than outside your window. Snow drifted slowly past the streetlights, but Daniel sat still at his kitchen table, laptop open, phone buzzing beside him. Emails unanswered, decisions delayed. His mind felt crowded. Work pressure, money worries, quiet fears about the future he didn't know how to name. He wasn't panicking. He was exhausted. Someone once told him anxiety isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just the inability to rest. That night, instead of scrolling, Daniel opened his Bible to a place he rarely visited, Proverbs. Not promises of instant relief, not dramatic miracles, just wisdom. The opening words met him gently. For gaining wisdom and instruction, for understanding words of insight. Wisdom wasn't shouting. It wasn't demanding. It was offering. Then came the line that slowed his breathing. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Daniel had always misunderstood that word, fear. He imagined fear as tension, dread, pressure. But Proverbs wasn't speaking of terror. It was speaking of orientation. To fear the Lord was to recognize, I am not the center. I don't have to carry everything. There is a wiser voice than my own. Proverbs spoke like a father sitting across the table. Listen, my son. Not condemning, not impatient, just present. Then Proverbs introduced two voices, and Daniel recognized them immediately. The first voice was familiar. It said, "Come with us, take shortcuts. Everyone does it. You'll gain more, faster." That voice always promised relief. It always delivered regret. Proverbs didn't romanticize it. These men lie in wait for their own blood. Short-term gain, long-term loss. Daniel thought of decisions he'd rushed, words he'd spoken too quickly, paths that looked efficient but left him empty. Then another voice entered the text, quieter but stronger. Wisdom. Out in the open, wisdom calls aloud. Not hidden, not secretive, not manipulative. Wisdom didn't whisper in shame. She called in daylight. She asked questions instead of forcing answers. How long will you love being simple? Not mocking, inviting. Then came a warning, not harsh, but honest. Ignoring wisdom doesn't make life neutral. It makes it fragile. But then, the promise Daniel needed most. Whoever listens to me will live in safety and be at ease, without fear of harm. At ease. Not rich, not powerful, not famous. At ease. Daniel leaned back in his chair. This was what he had been craving. Not escape, but steadiness. Proverbs 2 deepened the invitation. If you call out for insight, if you search for it like hidden treasure, wisdom wasn't automatic, but it was available. And then this, for the Lord gives wisdom, not self-made, not earned by anxiety, not achieved by overthinking. Wisdom was given. He is a shield to those whose walk is blameless. Daniel looked out the window again. Snow still fell. Life was still complicated. But something inside him softened. Wisdom wasn't promising a life without storms. She was offering protection, direction, and rest within them. The chapter ended with a quiet assurance. Wisdom will enter your heart, and knowledge will be pleasant to your soul. Pleasant, not heavy, not suffocating, not overwhelming. That night, Daniel didn't solve everything, but he slept more deeply than he had in weeks. Because for the first time in a long while, he wasn't leaning on his own understanding. He was learning how to relax in God's wisdom. Morning came quietly. Toronto was still half asleep, streets dusted with snow that hadn't yet turned to slush. Daniel stood at the kitchen window holding a mug of coffee, watching a plow crawl slowly down the street. Life felt a little lighter than the night before, but the questions were still there. Nothing had magically resolved. Bills still needed paying, decisions still waited, the future still felt unclear. And yet, something inside him was calmer. He opened Proverbs again, this time to chapter 3. The words felt like a continuation of the conversation from the night before. Wisdom not rushing him, not pressuring him, just walking beside him. "My son, do not forget my teaching, but keep my commands in your heart." Daniel realized how easily he forgot. Not intentionally, but gradually. When life got busy, wisdom slipped into the background. Anxiety took the front seat. Then came a promise that felt almost too gentle for the chaos of modern life. "Achana, for they will prolong your life many years and bring you peace and prosperity." Peace. Not just the absence of noise, but the presence of trust. He kept reading. "Let love and faithfulness never leave you." Love, even when it costs. Faithfulness, even when it feels slow. Then he reached the line he had heard countless times, but never needed more than now. "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding." Daniel smiled faintly. Leaning on his own understanding was exactly what had exhausted him. He replayed the last few months. Spreadsheets, projections, late-night overthinking, mental rehearsals of conversations that hadn't happened yet. None of it brought clarity, only fatigue. Proverbs wasn't saying understanding was bad. It was saying understanding was limited. "In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight." Not necessarily easy, not necessarily fast. Straight. Daniel realized something quietly profound. Trust wasn't passive. It was an active decision to stop gripping so tightly. He read on. "Do not be wise in your own eyes." That stung a little. He liked being competent, being capable, being the one who figured things out. But wisdom whispered, "You don't have to prove anything here." Then came a promise that felt almost physical. "This will bring health to your body and nourishment to your bones." He felt it already. The tension in his shoulders easing, his breath slowing. Anxiety had lived in his body for so long that he forgot peace could live there too. As he moved further down the chapter, Proverbs reframed something he had been resenting. "Do not despise the Lord's discipline." Discipline. Daniel usually heard that word as punishment, but Proverbs spoke of it as evidence of love. Because the Lord disciplines those he loves, as a father, the son he delights in. Not rejection, not anger, delight. He sat down at the table, letting the words settle. Then Proverbs began to speak of wisdom not as an idea, but as a treasure. "Blessed are those who find wisdom, more valuable than silver, more precious than rubies." And then this line stopped him completely. "Her ways are pleasant ways, and all her paths are peace." Peace wasn't at the end of success. Peace wasn't after everything was figured out. Peace was in walking with wisdom. As the chapter continued, it described a life that felt safe. "When you lie down, you will not be afraid. When you lie down, your sleep will be sweet." Daniel thought back to the night before, how deeply he slept after weeks of restlessness. Wisdom wasn't abstract, it was already working. Have no fear of sudden disaster. Winter storms still came. Markets still shifted, life still surprised. But wisdom offered something steadier than predictability. "For the Lord will be at your side." Not ahead, yelling instructions. Not behind, judging mistakes. At your side. The chapter ended with contrasts Daniel had seen play out again and again. Pride leads to emptiness. Humility leads to favor. Shortcuts lead to loss. Wisdom leads to rest. He finished the chapter just as sunlight broke through the clouds, reflecting off the snow outside his window. The city was waking up now. Cars moving, people heading to work. Life resuming its pace. Daniel still didn't have all the answers. But he had something better. A posture, a direction, a quieter heart. He whispered, almost without thinking, "God, I don't understand everything. But today, I choose to trust you." And for the first time in a long while, that felt like enough. By early evening, downtown Toronto was alive again. Streetcars hummed along Queen Street. Screens glowed from every storefront. Notifications buzzed in pockets and purses. Daniel walked home from work, earbuds in but nothing playing. He needed quiet more than sound. The city was loud, but his mind was learning how not to be. That night, he opened Proverbs again, this time to chapter 4. The tone shifted slightly, firmer, but still gentle. "Listen, my sons, to a father's instruction." Wisdom didn't rush. She repeated herself. Not because we're slow, but because we forget. Get wisdom, get understanding. The words were urgent, but not anxious. This matters. Daniel realized how much of his life had been shaped by voices competing for his attention. Ads, opinions, algorithms, expectations. Everyone had advice. Everyone had a path. Proverbs cut through the noise. Do not forsake wisdom, and she will protect you. Protection. Not insulation from the world, but clarity within it. The path of the righteous is like the morning sun, shining ever brighter till the full light of day. Daniel thought of how mornings slowly brighten in winter, not instantly, but steadily. Wisdom worked the same way. You didn't become clear overnight. You became clearer by walking faithfully. Then came the line that felt like the heartbeat of the chapter. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Above all else, not productivity, not reputation, not success, the heart. Daniel paused. He had guarded his schedule, his finances, his image. But his heart, he let stress, resentment, comparison, and distraction wander freely through it. Proverbs continued, "Keep your mouth free of perversity. Let your eyes look straight ahead." This wasn't moralism, it was alignment. Wisdom wasn't trying to limit him, it was trying to focus him. Give careful thought to the paths for your feet. Not every opportunity was meant to be taken. Not every desire needed to be followed. Not every door was worth opening. As he turned the page into Proverbs 5, the tone sharpened, not to shame, but to warn. For the lips of the adulterous woman drip honey. Daniel understood the metaphor immediately. It wasn't just about physical temptation, it was about anything that promised sweetness and delivered emptiness. Quick validation, secret shortcuts, hidden compromises. They all spoke smoothly, but Proverbs didn't mince words. In the end, she is bitter as gall. Temporary pleasure, permanent damage. The chapter spoke of dignity lost, strength drained, regret that arrives too late. Daniel thought of people he knew, talented, gifted, once full lives hollowed out by choices that seemed harmless at first. Proverbs wasn't threatening him, it was protecting him. Keep to a path far from her. Wisdom wasn't saying, "You're weak." It was saying, "You're valuable." Then the chapter shifted again to something tender, life-giving. Drink water from your own cistern. Faithfulness. Depth over novelty. Commitment over impulse. a life nourished from the inside, not constantly craving outside stimulation. May your fountain be blessed. Daniel felt the truth settle. Guarding the heart wasn't about fear. It was about stewardship. Your heart fuels your words, your choices, your future. For your ways are in full view of the Lord. Not surveillance, but care. Like a father watching a child learn to walk, not to catch them falling, but to steady them. That night, Daniel turned off his phone earlier than usual. He didn't avoid the world. He simply chose what entered his heart. As he lay in bed, city sounds muffled through the window. Proverbs echoed quietly in his mind. Guard your heart. Choose your path. Wisdom leads to life. And for the first time, the noise of the city didn't feel threatening, because his heart was learning how to rest. It was late, the kind of Toronto night when the city doesn't sleep, but simply slows its breathing. From his apartment window, Daniel watched headlights slide across wet pavement. A streetcar bell rang in the distance. The world felt calm on the surface, but he knew how easily one careless choice could disrupt that calm. Proverbs 6 met him without poetry or softness. It was practical, direct, almost blunt. My son, you have been trapped by what you said. Daniel winced slightly. Words had power, commitments had weight, and some promises, once made, quietly tightened into snares. Proverbs wasn't condemning him. It was teaching him how freedom actually worked. Free yourself like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter. Wisdom didn't encourage passivity. It encouraged decisive action. Delay often disguised itself as caution, but Proverbs named it for what it was: avoidance. Then came the unexpected teacher. Go to the ant, you sluggard. Daniel smiled. The ant didn't overthink, didn't procrastinate, didn't wait for perfect conditions. It simply worked, faithfully, quietly, steadily. Wisdom wasn't flashy. It was consistent. As the chapter continued, Proverbs exposed a certain kind of person Daniel recognized too well. Not always in others, sometimes in himself. The troublemaker, the one who stirred conflict subtly, the one who winked, hinted, manipulated. Then came the list, sobering and uncomfortable. There are 6 things the Lord hates, 7 that are detestable. Pride lies, hands quick to harm, hearts bent toward schemes, feet rushing into evil, false testimony, seeds of division. Daniel realized wisdom wasn't just about avoiding mistakes. It was about shaping character. Proverbs didn't want him merely successful. It wanted him whole. Then Proverbs 6 circled back, again, to temptation. Can a man scoop fire into his lap without his clothes being burned? The question answered itself. Some consequences weren't punishments. They were natural results. Fire warms when respected. It destroys when mishandled. Daniel had seen enough lives scorched by just this once, thinking to know the truth of it. Then Proverbs 7 slowed everything down and told a story. A young man, simple, unaware, walking near danger, not intending to fall, but not intending to resist either. At twilight, as the day was fading, the timing mattered. Temptation rarely arrived in full daylight. It came when clarity was low and desire was high. The woman's words were smooth, the invitation appealing, the setting carefully arranged, and then the line that made Daniel's stomach tighten. All at once he followed her. All at once. No long deliberation, no dramatic rebellion, just one step too close. Proverbs describe the result without exaggeration, like an ox to the slaughter, like a bird into a snare, not stupid, just unguarded. Daniel closed his eyes for a moment. How many decisions in his life had followed that same pattern? Not malicious, just careless. Proverbs wasn't shaming the young man. It was pleading with the reader. Do not let your heart turn to her ways. Again, the heart. Every path began there. The chapter ended with words that felt heavy but loving. Her house is a highway to the grave. Wisdom wasn't afraid to name danger, because wisdom loved life. Daniel leaned back on the couch. Proverbs 6-7 weren't about paranoia. They were about awareness. Not everything that feels good leads somewhere good. Not every open door is an invitation from God. Wisdom asks different questions. Where does this lead? What will this cost? Who will this shape me into? Daniel whispered quietly, God, help me slow down. Help me notice. Help me choose life, even in small decisions. Outside, the city kept moving. Inside, something steadier was forming. Wisdom wasn't making life smaller. She was making it safer, calmer, more free. Morning light crept slowly into Daniel's apartment, pale and gentle. The kind of light that doesn't demand anything. Toronto was quieter at this hour. No traffic horns yet. No notifications pulling at his attention. Just stillness. He sat at the table again, Bible open, coffee untouched. Proverbs 8 felt different from everything he had read so far. Wisdom was no longer just instruction. She was a voice. Does not wisdom call out? Does not understanding raise her voice? Not hidden in monasteries, not locked behind theology, calling out in everyday places, streets, gates, crossroads, where decisions are made, where lives turn. Wisdom wasn't distant from real life. She stood right in the middle of it. Daniel read slowly as wisdom spoke in first person. I speak what is right. My words are just. There was no manipulation here. No half-truths, no hidden cost. Wisdom didn't promise shortcuts. She promised clarity. Choose my instruction instead of silver. Daniel smiled softly. Money had dominated so many of his worries. Not greed, just survival, security, control. But wisdom offered something rarer. Nothing you desire can compare with me. Nothing. Not success, not comfort, not approval. Then came a line that changed how he saw wisdom entirely. I, wisdom, dwell together with prudence. Wisdom wasn't impulsive. She was thoughtful, measured, grounded. She hated pride. Not because pride was loud, but because pride blinded. To fear the Lord is to hate evil. Again, fear wasn't terror. It was alignment. Wisdom continued. By me kings reign. Daniel realized wisdom wasn't only personal, it was foundational. Societies rose or fell by whether they listened to her. Homes, too. Then the passage shifted into something almost poetic, almost breathtaking. Wisdom spoke of before oceans, before mountains, before skies and boundaries. I was there. Wisdom wasn't created late. She wasn't an afterthought. She was present at creation, rejoicing, delighting, participating. I was constantly at his side. Daniel paused. Wisdom wasn't just a tool God used. She was a companion God delighted in. That changed everything. Wisdom wasn't cold logic. She was joyful order, life-giving design. And then wisdom turned toward humanity, delighting in the human race. Daniel felt that line settle deeply. God didn't design wisdom to restrict joy. He designed it to protect joy. Proverbs 8 ended with a promise and a warning, both honest. Whoever finds me finds life. Those who hate me love death. Not dramatic, accurate. Then Proverbs 9 painted two houses, two invitations. Wisdom had built her house carefully, stable, spacious, welcoming. Come, eat my food, drink the wine I have mixed. Not frantic, not demanding. An invitation to grow up, to leave simple ways, to live. Then folly appeared. Loud, careless, seductive. She used similar words, but offered something very different. Stolen water is sweet. Quick pleasure, no commitment, no responsibility. And the final line landed heavy. Little do they know that the dead are there. Daniel closed the Bible gently. He saw it now. Every day was filled with invitations. Some shouted, some whispered, some promised relief. Some offered life. Wisdom wasn't loud, but she was faithful, always present, always calling. And she didn't ask him to master life. She asked him to walk with her. As the sun rose higher, Daniel whispered, God, help me recognize your wisdom. Help me choose her voice over the noise. Toronto would wake soon. Decisions would come. Pressure would return. But wisdom would still be there. Standing at the crossroads, calling gently, offering life. By late afternoon, the city began to exhale. Traffic slowed. Lights softened. Shadows stretched across the sidewalks. Daniel walked home through a neighborhood park, coat zipped up, hands in pockets. Autumn leaves crunched under his boots. The air was cool, clean, steady, like a quiet reminder that not everything had to be rushed. Proverbs 10:15 had been echoing in his mind all day. Unlike earlier chapters, these didn't feel poetic or mystical. They felt practical, almost uncomfortably practical. Short lines, clear contrasts, life or destruction, no middle ground. A wise son brings joy, a foolish son brings grief. Wisdom showed up in ordinary places. Words spoken too quickly, reactions chosen in anger, honesty when lying felt easier, patience when frustration felt justified. Proverbs didn't romanticize wisdom. It tested it. Daniel remembered one verse in particular. The way of the Lord is a refuge for the blameless, but it is the ruin of those who do evil. The same path, two very different outcomes. Wisdom wasn't about intelligence. It was about direction. Proverbs 11 lingered on integrity. The integrity of the upright guides them. Not ambition, not image. Integrity. Daniel thought about how often he tried to manage impressions instead of guarding his heart. Another line surfaced quietly. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. He paused on a park bench. Wisdom wasn't self-centered. It flowed outward. Generosity, kindness. Words that healed instead of wounded. Proverbs 12 spoke straight to the mouth. The tongue of the wise brings healing. Daniel knew the damage careless words could do. Emails sent too fast. Comments spoken without grace. Silence used as punishment. Then came a verse that felt painfully accurate. Anxiety weighs down the heart, but a kind word cheers it up. Not a solution, not advice, a kind word. Sometimes wisdom wasn't dramatic obedience. It was gentle presence. Proverbs 13 reminded him that time mattered. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. Wisdom acknowledged waiting was hard. Delayed answers hurt, but it also reminded, whoever walks with the wise becomes wise. Wisdom was contagious. So was foolishness. Daniel realized how much influence environments had. Conversations, media, voices he allowed close. Proverbs 14 slowed everything down. A heart at peace gives life to the body. Peace wasn't found by avoiding trouble, but by fearing the Lord. That phrase kept returning. Fear of the Lord didn't mean living tense or afraid. It meant living aligned, God-aware, humble, teachable, Even joy, Proverbs admitted, could hide pain. Even in laughter, the heart may ache. Wisdom didn't deny emotional complexity. It respected it. Then Proverbs 15 arrived like a deep breath. A gentle answer turns away wrath. Daniel smiled softly. How many arguments could end early with gentleness? The soothing tongue is a tree of life. Words could create shade, rest, safety, and then, almost like a summary of the entire journey, better a little with the fear of the Lord than great wealth with turmoil. Wisdom wasn't about accumulation. It was about peace, not the absence of problems, but the presence of God. Daniel stood up as the sun dipped lower. He hadn't mastered Proverbs, but Proverbs had reshaped his pace. Wisdom didn't promise a problem-free life. She promised a grounded one, a life built slowly, choice by choice, word by word. And as Daniel walked home, one truth stayed with him. Wisdom isn't loud. She's consistent. She doesn't rush. She remains. And those who walk with her, even through long Canadian winters, even through quiet doubts, even through unfinished prayers, will find peace. The book of Proverbs does not invite us to escape the world. It invites us to walk through life differently. Proverbs 1:15 shows us that wisdom is not about being smarter, louder, or more successful. It is about being aligned with God's heart, God's timing, and God's ways. From the very beginning, Proverbs tells us where wisdom starts. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. This fear is not anxiety. It is reverence. It is awareness. It is choosing to live as though God is truly present in everyday decisions. Throughout these chapters, wisdom speaks like a loving parent, firm, honest, and protective. She warns us not because God wants control, but because He wants peace. She reminds us that shortcuts cost more than they promise, that words carry weight, that integrity builds safety, and that discipline is an expression of love. Proverbs teaches us that wisdom is relational. Wisdom shapes how we speak. Wisdom governs how we handle anger and anxiety. Wisdom influences who we listen to and who we walk with. Wisdom protects the heart, the source of life itself. Again and again, Proverbs contrasts two paths: the way of wisdom, which leads to life, peace, and steadiness; the way of folly, which feels easier at first, but ends in restlessness and loss. Wisdom does not rush us. She invites us to slow down, to listen, to choose carefully. In a world that constantly demands speed, performance, and visibility, Proverbs reminds us that God values faithfulness over flash, peace over pressure, and character over control. To walk in wisdom is not to live without trouble. It is to live rooted even when trouble comes. And that is why Proverbs allows us to relax. Not because life is easy, but because God's wisdom is trustworthy. Before you leave, take a quiet moment to reflect. Where in your life is wisdom calling out to you right now? Is it in your words, your reactions, your relationships, your pace, your trust in God? You don't need to change everything today. Wisdom grows one choice at a time. If this message spoke to you, consider sharing your reflection in the comments. Your story, your honesty, may bring peace or clarity to someone else who is walking through a similar season. And if you're longing for a calmer, steadier walk with God, stay close to His wisdom. She's always calling, and she always leads to life.